Grown Man Sessions. Welcome back. I'm Timothy Rhyme, your host, and it's about to get real. On today's episode, I will be speaking with somebody all the way from Toledo, Ohio. Our first time interviewing somebody from the Midwest. His name is Kynard. He's a children's book author. He creates his own NFTs, and he's just an overall dope content creator. So check him out. We will be talking about men's mental health today. I know. Don't run away. Don't turn away. It's not something that we all want to talk about, but I think it's important for us to talk about, just to show other dudes, young dudes, older dudes, whoever, that it's okay to talk about. So before anything, make sure you hit that like and hit the subscribe button. Drop us a comment. Show us some love, man. We appreciate everybody supporting the platform. And without further ado, let's get this thing going. What's up, guys? So as I started this journey with Grown Man Sessions, I literally didn't know which direction it was going to go in. I didn't know if people were going to dig it. I didn't know if it was going to get any kind of attention, but it wasn't my intention to try to get attention. It was just to try to provide a message. And I thought it was really cool that about a month ago, I got a Instagram message from a gentleman by the name of Kynard, who just reached out and said that he was digging the show and if he could be a guest on the show. And to me, I'm like, heck yeah, dude. And so I checked out his profile, and yeah, man, he had a really cool message on his own platform. So we're gonna have a conversation with Caleb today. What's up, Caleb? How you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for making the time, man. And like I said in the intro, thank you for reaching out, man, because to me, it's a little bit of a confirmation for me that I'm on the right path. The universe keeps bringing people like yourself into my life, and it's a really big confirmation and pat on a little nudge on the shoulder saying okay, you're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on as well. I know that your platform is really about mentoring, and I just want to make sure you know that you are the best mentor that you'll have on your show, because I watched so many videos and I was stunned, literally.
Oh, wow. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Just out of curiosity, man, and this is just, just out of my own curiosity for the show, what was something that maybe stood out to you?
Honestly, I'll be brutally honest. When I first saw Grown Man Sessions as a name, I was like, is this something that I would want to be on? Because, we know how it is sometimes, guys. There's toxic masculinity in the world.
Exactly.
And then I checked out the content or behind the brand, and I was like, wow, this is something that the world just needs. Someone that is willing and able to provide people with mentorship, guidance, and really just you created a platform through using the internet. And I don't think many people understand that we can all just do that whenever we feel like it. And you're a perfect example of that. You can do whatever you want as long as you're just willing to do it. And that stuck out to me so much. And I'm honored to be able to be a part of this and your journey, and you're part of my journey now too as well.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree. And I thank you so much for that, man. I totally understand what you're saying about through the internet, we can all build our own platforms if we just do it. But I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to start this was because I know a lot of people personally, and maybe you do too, that may have good ideas, may have something that they want to start, but just kind of never are able to follow through or able to really put it all together. So
absolutely. And yeah, that was me too. Honestly, for a while, I had ideas, I had things that I felt called to do, but for some reason I was letting the fear associated with my ideas stop me from doing them. And it's a cycle that once it's broken, as you know, it's you get to live freely, really.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that success lies right outside of your comfort zone.
Me too.
So if you're willing to be a little bit uncomfortable for a little bit, just a little bit, it'll change, your perspective on some of these things.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Well, Caleb, man, like I said, thank you for coming on. Let's kind of get to know you a little bit more, man. So where are you from?
I'm from Toledo, Ohio. I'm actually not there right now. I go to school at Lake Erie College, which is in Painesville, Ohio. I'm a senior now.
Awesome. And you, like from my own research, you're a child's author, an illustrator, an artist, and just from checking out your Instagram page, you put out a lot of good content, bro. So,
Thank you.
yeah. What kind of inspired you to take these routes?
Honestly, I wasn't always so willing to put my work out there and put parts of myself out there like this. This all kind of started probably about 2 years ago. I started off making an entrepreneurship themed Facebook page or Instagram page, sorry. And really the whole message of my page was I want to inspire entrepreneurs. It was really just me trying to inspire myself now that I look back on it. And so I was going to try to inspire entrepreneurs and through interviewing other entrepreneurs and talking to them and all these sorts of things. And then I realized at a certain point, honestly, during like peak of the Black Lives Matter movement and all that during that time, I was like, I love that I'm making entrepreneurial content. I want to be able to talk about the world. I want to be able to talk about what I see up with the world and all these things. So eventually, fast forward, a little bit, I decided to get an iPad. And once I got my iPad, I was like, I really was intending to use it to build a marketing company. That was what I told myself I was going to do. It made sense at the time because, I had a little bit of social media content creation experience. But through that journey, I started writing poetry and illustrating my poems. And then I started to just make, I made it for my sister, my children's book. I wrote it out first. And then one day I was like, I'll make this for my little sister. I want to give her a present, and then after I made it, I was like, there's no reason for me not to publish this. Besides just being scared of putting my work out there and standing out. So then after months of sitting there editing, I I put my work out, and then now I'm making NFTs and things, and all that fear that was associated with it it's gone. It's there, but I know I don't have to listen to it anymore.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about that. I think that's a really profound, concept as far as, having the wherewithal to understand, what you're up against, with your own self limitations, and then figuring out how to move past it, and I think that kind of, gets into like us talking about, like men's mental health for one. How do you feel, about men's mental health? Because I know that's something that you had mentioned in the forum when you sent it in. That is something that you wanted to speak upon.
Right. I see. I have a lot of passion in this area because, I mean, just from my experience. So I started to talk to therapists when I was about 16, maybe pushing 17. And one of the first things I realized was it feels like I have to keep this part of my life a secret from my guy friends. It feels like if I went and talked to them about this, I would be seen as weak, maybe told, why you're acting like a girl, things like that. And it wasn't until, honestly, years through that process of figuring out, just understanding my trauma and things like that, that I realized being open and vulnerable is actually a strength. It's not a weakness. It's honestly one of the best things that we can do for ourselves and others. And it always starts with ourselves too. So through that process, I realized, maybe I can be someone who, I'm obviously not a therapist, a psychologist or anything, but through my experience, I just hope to be able to tell others and show others that if you're struggling with your mental health in any way, it's okay. Like there's no reason that it's not, really, think about it. So I think that as men, we're often told, you have to be a man. You have to be strong and tough. Yeah, exactly. If someone's fighting you, you gotta win the fight. Things like that. Yeah. But in reality, we're just people. We have feelings like everyone else. We have our trauma. We have all these emotions, but we can often feel like we're not allowed to express them. And I think that if a lot of guys did this, they would see so much just personal growth, and it's really just stems from leaving that's the societal norm of guys being men, macho, and really just living as yourself, and whatever you feel, whatever you want to feel, whoever you are, just being that. There's no reason you can't be.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. I always tell my daughter because she's a teenager now. She's 14. She just started high school, and she was telling me that she was having anxiety. And so I'm trying to make her more aware of her mental health, and I just always
Mhm.
remind her, like that, you're human. Like you don't have to look at this as like something that's like wrong with you. You're weird, like nothing like that. Like just on a personal note, like I take mental health issues very seriously because my biological mom is a paranoid schizophrenic, and I know that's not necessarily the same thing as like having mental health issues or whatever, or having like some sort of mental health, awareness.
Mhm.
It's just something that I take seriously because it's something that I've researched because it's so close to me. But just like how you said, man, like I feel like it shouldn't be stigmatized to the point where we're not taking care of ourselves,
Right.
because at the end of the day, man, like we all kind of go through the same things. We all have very similar experiences in regards to like what we're feeling, and that in itself should be something that should like kind of bond us, as opposed to like being like, oh well, you're weird for feeling like that. Like, no, man, like if we're really truly honest with ourselves, I feel like a lot of us, when we hear other people saying that, maybe mentally we say, oh yeah, me too, but like the reaction isn't always like, oh, me too,
Right.
you know.
Right. Right. And I think, that's where the vulnerability aspect comes in, and being able to be
Hmm.
self-aware enough to allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself and others, because that vulnerability is what connects us, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. That's why I feel like grown man sessions to me is just like a space where like guys could just let themselves be themselves, man. And
Hmm.
in my perspective, that is a grown man. Like just being
Hmm.
okay with how you feel, being okay with speaking about it, and just being okay with like having that vulnerability. Because I feel like if we can show what it looks like to maybe other young men that are out there and maybe don't know what it looks like, and they don't know what the conversation sounds like, they don't know like how the other person would respond, maybe they'll look at it and say like, okay, well, it's not as scary as I think it is.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And that goes, I think that's with anything we do. The more you do it, the more you see that it wasn't hard.
You kind of alluded to this a few minutes ago about living as your true self.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, like, what you mean by that, because I know what I think of when I hear that, but I'm just curious what you think of when you say that.
When I say that, it's there's a lot of layers to it for me. I think
Hmm.
we have to be able to fully understand why we are how we are. So I talk about trauma a lot, and that's one thing that really is big for me, because I had to understand my trauma to realize who I am. And I mean, oftentimes it starts when we're younger. Um, when we're kids, we weren't born hating ourselves and with anxiety and things. Those are things that are taught to us, and
Yeah.
so I think it's a process of unlearning things that we're taught and learning who you are. So to me, it really comes from just being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I living the life I want? And if the answer is no, why not? And then being able to say, this is what I'll do about it, to be able to change that. And it's always a practice. It's a process. I mean, some days I'm off. I'm off my game, and I'm not living as my true self, and I can feel it. But there are other days where I can tell that my, going towards this route is working.
Yeah, do you have days where you feel like, oh man, like I nailed it, like, and then you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
you just you just like your swagger's different, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And then there's days where I wake up and I'm like, why am I trying to sell children's books? No one, or why am I making NFTs? No one's gonna buy them. But I can't listen to that,
Yeah.
it's limiting, it's resistance.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that the most important words that you ever say are the ones that you say to yourself. And and
Absolutely.
I and but I think like how you said, man, it's a process of understanding what that relationship is,
Hmm.
and being able to point out that, okay, that thought right there, I don't want that one, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna lower the volume on that one, and then kind of like training yourself to like create new ones that are more beneficial for you, and learning how to turn the volume up on those ones,
Hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the most beneficial things I've come across just in this journey is understanding that I'm actually not my mind. I am the one observing it. So I get to say, I get to sit there and sit with the thought. And if it's going on, that's not me. That's just my mind.
Yeah.
And being able to understand the relationship with your mind and why it's telling you these things, why it learned what it learned, which causes it to tell you to be anxious, scared, whatever it is, and understand the perspective it brings you, while also being able to say, I don't want to choose that perspective at this time, or I do. And that's living as yourself. I think being able to choose if you're going with your mind or not. And I think it's important to note too, like those thoughts that come that limit us, they're not ours even. Like they are words that we heard from someone else that are like, they're remembered in here in our heads. And it's like we're taught to be scared to stand up, because it's implied that if you do and you fail, then you're labeled a failure or something, So, and yeah, I just think being able to separate mind from who you are is one of the most important things that we can do.
I wanted to try something with you today, if you don't mind. I have a friend in England. She has a company. She's an author as well, actually. Her name is Iris, and she started a company called Indigo Warrior Soul, where she's trying to put out products that can help men with empowering themselves. And so she sent me these little cards that all there's a bunch of these cards, and they have a bunch of like words with some definitions, and they're just meant to be like daily reminders of something to be mindful of, something to just make sure that you don't kind of overlook. And so I'm wondering if you don't mind if I could pull one randomly and show you, and just kind of get some feedback from you on this card, and like what kind of thoughts it brings up, and what you think about this idea.
I don't mind at all. That sounds awesome.
Okay. So I'm shuffling through. Feel free to tell me when to stop, and then I'll stop.
Okay. Now.
All right.
It's like a magician.
All right. Oh, this one's pretty cool. All right. So this one is respect. So respect says, if you do not respect yourself and your own borders, you can never truly respect another life. It is that simple.
I think that's a very factual statement. I think everything comes from ourselves, honestly. I think that the whole world around us is a mirror of how we feel about ourselves, because, here's an example, right? 2 years ago, I wasn't making any type of, I had no business. And the extent of my entrepreneurial fuel and thinking was talking about it to my girlfriend in her car on our way home. and it was because, I didn't respect myself. I didn't think that I had it in me. I was waiting for the right moment. And it wasn't until I started to respect what I want to do that now I can see just the value in it, really. And I think that this is for everything. Self-respect and self-love is just so important, because without it, you're just living your life for other people and not yourself. And that's just not a recipe for happiness, honestly.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, man. I think once I started my transformation and started really taking my journey inward, it really changed how I related to other people. It changed how I interacted with other people, and it's been something that has been truly transformational in my life, because we don't know each other, but I've been through some stuff, man. I've lived couple lives, and I never imagined that I would be in this position that I'm in right now. So just to be able to kind of have that understanding with myself is a real blessing. And I hope, man, that anybody listening takes the time to really understand themselves and learn more about themselves as well, because like you said, man, the self-respect and the understanding that part of yourself is probably the most important relationship that you'll ever have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Truthfully, all that ever matters for any of us is that we're happy. If you think about it,
Yep.
It is that simple, really. There's no reason that we shouldn't be happy. And we overcomplicate things by making ourselves think that we can't be happy.
Yeah, I've seen people that, friends and family that will be doing well, things will be going good, but for some reason they'll find the thing that isn't going well and focus on that. And if you looked at them, you would think that nothing was going well. But if you really knew, like, you would know that, like, there's a lot of things that they're accomplishing, achieving, progressing through. But for whatever reason, like, in their mind, like, it's focused on whatever is not going well.
Right. And I think, that's actually something that's really important to me too, is being able to live in the moment and really understand what the moment is, because, the past it's not real if you think about it, and neither is future. So the only thing that's real is right now. And so worrying about something that's tomorrow, an hour, 10 minutes from now, that does mean nothing. That does no good for me at my current state. So I had to sit there and realize this, honestly, through like meditation and as a vessel to find the moment. And once I found and really practiced that, I was able to just live it out more day to day. And it's something that I think everyone should do, is really figure out, what is the moment? Because I don't think it's something that we think about. I think it's something that we feel.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you're the type of person that does kind of like, anticipate, bad situations, or can find, is aware of the problems, I don't necessarily think that that's always a bad thing. I think having the ability to do that in itself is like a good thing to be able to have. It's just, it's like, it should be a tool in the tool belt, as opposed to like a permanent way of kind of seeing the world, and like, always being in that mode. Because I saw a commercial where there was like a girl, I forgot what company it was for, but there's a commercial where there's a woman that was at a conference table, and she was surrounded by like 10 different like versions of herself. And she's the orchestrator of the meeting with herself. And she's like, okay, like, rambunctious me, what do you think? Anxious me, what do you think? Overthinking me, what do you think? But she's the one that's coordinating the meeting, So like, I feel like that thought process of, like, oh, there's a problem, oh, I need to look out for this, like, that could be like one of those voices that you could say, like, okay, like, worrisome me, what do you think?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many sides of ourselves that we don't realize. I mean, you touched on the inner child earlier. Like last year, when I was begging myself to be creative, I realized that was my inner child saying, dude, come on, like, let some of this emotion out, or there's our inner child, there's our inner worry, or all these things. And it's really just being able to understand what they're bringing you, because like you said, it's a tool. It can be. I think that people who do have, I don't want to sound too, it's not a fact, but I think that people who have anxiety often are really socially aware, because and they realize the things that are wrong around the world, and they just don't know what to do with it. So I can see that. I think it is a tool because of that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my whole objective, I guess, with learning myself is to just figure out what tools I have, and then, being more like cognizant of when and how I want to use them. Because if I can do that, man, like, I feel like I'll be a dangerous mofo.
Yeah, and I think that's what everyone should strive for, because that's the epitome of being self-aware, being able to just, whatever you feel called to do, you do it, and you channel whatever you need to get it done.
Indeed, man. I want to ask you this question, and this is like one of the most I guess every time I ask this question to my guests, I've never gotten the same answer once, so I just it's always like a cool thing to hear the response. But what's the most important lesson you've learned so far in your life?
That's a good question. I would say the value in just being willing to do what I feel called to do. Because, I mean, what I had to realize was, I have all these ideas, I have all these things that they really excite me. They light me up when I get them, but then I let them become a place of stress. So what I realized was, if I act on them, even in the smallest way, when I feel that call to do it, then the worry that's in my head will just start to slowly disappear, right? Like when I first, like I said, when I was publishing my book, that process, I let the worry get the best of me. But then the second I published it, and then I made an Instagram for myself and started posting on there and started loving that. Now I'm making NFTs and that's just that's the opportunist in me, like begging to come out, you know. So the second I started to allow myself to do things that I actually wanted to do, and I really think that we always all deep down know what we want to do, even if we won't admit it. The second I let myself do it, the second that everything started to fall in place. And I think it's also about being willing to say, you know, today I'm an author and an artist, but tomorrow I might want to be a mechanic. And if that's the case, you know, that's okay. It's about being able to accept that things can change. They don't have to be permanent. You don't have to strictly identify with one thing unless you choose to. Everything's a choice.
For sure. I feel like we're such dynamic individuals, and we kind of box ourselves in so much that, you know, I think that act of boxing ourselves in becomes stressful in itself, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Caleb. Well, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate this conversation. It's been very informative, you know, just being able to, you know, hear somebody else's perspective that's going through something similar. So thank you for sharing with me. Where can people find any of your stuff, man? Like, where can they find you on Instagram? Where can they find your book?
So my book's on Amazon. If you just look up Pluto's Big Adventure, it's for about 2 to 6 years olds. My Instagram is Caleb Kynard, CalebKynard, and then that's the same on TikTok, really across all platforms actually. So just anything that you want to find me on, I'm on there. I would love to connect with anyone listening. If they want to, just let me know that they came from here. And also thank you so much for having me on. I love the message. I love the brand, and it really was an honor.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that. You know, I'll put Caleb's information in the description so that you guys don't have to go searching on your own. Just go ahead and look in the description below, and he's a click away. Yeah, and if anybody listening if you got anything from this show, all we ask is that you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and leave us a comment. You know, we're just trying to make sure that, you know, we're getting across to some people, and, you know, making sure that people are able to get something from it. That's the biggest reward. So thank you, Caleb, for your time. Thank you for sharing your story, and we'll definitely have to circle back with you and see how the next book comes along, man, and see what you're working on next, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait.
Right on, man. Well, I always end the show by saying one person can change the world, but it's one person at a time, and then one person is you. Until the next time, stay tuned and peace out.